Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Beyond Resistance Pod, where we share hard-won insights to build blue power in red communities to start winning. I'm Sarah Schultz.
And I'm Jennifer Austin. And today we have Dr. Pamela Pugh here with us for an interview. She is a scientist. She was the chief public health advisor to the city of Flint, Michigan during the Flint Water Crisis. So she's seen some stuff. She is currently the president of the Michigan State Board of Education. And I believe she's been on there. You've been on since 2014,
This
right?
is 2015.
Yes.
Elected in
2014.
2014.
Okay. You ran in 2014. Yes.
Yes.
And then she's also this year a candidate for the 35th Michigan State Senate District, which is a special election in February for the primary and then the general in May. Well, welcome to the pod, Pam. Really excited to have you here. And just briefly, is there anything else that we didn't list in the bio that you would like the voters of the 35th Senate District to know about you?
Well, first of all, it is great to be on the podcast. I listen and I admire the show, so it's great to finally be a guest. So thank you for having me here. But I would say, in addition to what you've listed there, is most of my work has been in public service, but you should know that my bachelor's of science degree is in chemical engineering. And so I definitely worked in the chemical industry, worked at DuPont for a little bit, and then worked at Dow in Midland there. And so spent some time there before I realized that I wanted to be more involved in public health and the environment and looking at how the environment impacts health. And so I went to Saginaw County Health Department, where I worked for 14 years. And most of my career has been spent addressing issues of environmental health in mainly areas where children live, learn, and play. And I've also been a small business owner, and most of my work has been consultancy work in the space of community health improvement planning, as well as doing work throughout the state and the country as it relates to environmental issues, climate work across the state and work across the country, where I've actually been awarded for my work. I was awarded nationally through with the NAACP, the National NAACP, for my work in research and public health and environmental work, as well as grant writing. And I will say my work in Saginaw, I was able to have the opportunity to apply for funding with a team of folks at the Saginaw County Health Department to ensure that we had in place mechanisms to address children's environmental health. And not only were we addressing the health of children and community health, but we were also able to use that as an opportunity to build coalition with faith-based, with the business community as well, and making sure that we saw it as an economic opportunity. And what that looked like is making sure that contractors were able to be a part of the work, but bringing in millions of dollars. I led efforts to bring in almost $10 million, able to help some of our small businesses. We had window manufacturers that were in the area. We had hardware stores that were here in the district that were able to benefit from those dollars. So it was a public health opportunity, an opportunity to make the environments where our children live healthier, but also an economic development opportunity and a space where a broad sector of people came together. So that was my work here in Saginaw for 14 years before going to Flint, Michigan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you've had, I think I read on your website, you've had like 25 years in public service and leadership.
Yes, it's actually probably almost 30,
Yeah.
honestly, now, but yes. So, and again, when I think about it, I could have gone anywhere. Most of my friends have spread out and are working in the environment, in the engineering field,
Yeah.
many of them that I went to school with, but I came back home and wanted to, I landed in this space of service and
Mm.
have no regrets about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your background is in science and you've made the choice to stay in
Yes.
service.
Yes.
Mhm.
Amazing. Well,
Yeah.
thank you
It
so much
takes.
for joining our pod and also just for running and for bringing all your tremendous talents to this race, but also all that you've done for the state of Michigan and your current role and all of your past roles. I'm just really grateful for that. And with all of that, I'm wondering about this next phase. Like, what's your motivation? What motivated you to want to run for the 35th Senate District? And why does this moment feel like it's the right time for you and your candidacy?
People in this district are struggling, and we need a fighter. We need someone who is electable. We need someone who can get to the state Senate seat and hit the ground running. As you mentioned, I've been elected statewide twice. I won in 2014 at a time when very few, well, let me just say it this way. I'm a Democrat. The top of the ticket in 2014 went to the Republican Party.
Yeah.
I was the highest vote getter. In 2022, after standing up on very strong on issues and standing against MAGA and extremism, still winning in 2022 and being the highest vote getter. But at the end of the day, I am running because I am the most qualified and the most experienced in this race. And again, the people in this district deserves someone who will go to the Senate table at a time that we're in right now, where we're seeing some of the most callous policy come from not only Washington, D.C., but when we look and see what happened just a couple of weeks ago, and it's still unfolding with our House of Representatives. We need someone who knows what to do when they get there, someone who is electable, someone who has policy experience, and I have all of that. And that's not taking anything away from the previous senator, now our congresswoman, but just making sure that now that we've been without representation for over almost a year, we
Mm-hmm.
need someone who can hold that seat and that can go in and knows what to do when they get there. And I,
Mhm.
again, have those qualifications.
And we'll be ready to continue running because as soon as we elect somebody in
Yes.
May, they're literally still running for the election the following November, which is a few
Right.
months away after that. So,
Right. And to that point, Jennifer, I will say that this seat is so critical to
It is.
ensuring
Yeah.
that from the top down that we're able to carry the ticket. One of the main things that I did when I ran for State Board of Education that I was asked to do and I did proudly is carry the whole ticket. So made sure that whenever I was speaking, I was a spokesperson
Mm.
for the entire ticket.
mhm.
And I remember when Congresswoman McDonald Rivet was running and making sure that I was out there being a quasi or a surrogate and speaking up and stomping for that position. So it is
Mhm.
critical that you're right, that we not only win in May but of 2026, but also August, and making sure that we are
Yeah.
carrying the ticket with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true. Um, so our next question is, so an important part of our blueprint, and I don't know how familiar you are with our blueprint, we created a blueprint that's 5 steps for building blue power to help communities, especially red communities, but it really can be applied to any communities, build blue power in whatever way they can. And one of those important things is understanding and using or disrupting community power structures. And so I'm just kind of wondering, in your experience, whether, we're talking Saginaw, when you worked in Flint, State Board of Education, all the different things that you have done, what is something that you use or disrupt in existing community power structures to assist, especially during the Flint Water Crisis?
Right. Well, what I would say that people know about me is that I am a researcher, true at heart. So I study things, I look at the data, um, and and then once I am understanding an issue, I stand very firm and fight for that issue. And I pride myself on building coalition and building teams of people. So I think that that's number one, is that you have to build and across experience, across sectors of community, and bringing people together, and then really standing firm. This campaign that that we're building, we have built a coalition. We have Working Families Party that is a part of us. We have Mothering Justice. We have Climate Cabinet, 314 Action, which is the only organization that sends scientists to the table, but really building a coalition again, not just across communities geographically, not just across our backgrounds, but also looking at the different issues and that are important to the people in this district, whether it's healthcare, whether it's jobs, but really working with the people who have been leading those efforts, not just across the state, but across the country. And that's the type of coalition that we've built here. And that's what we will continue to do. And that is something that I've done, as you mentioned, throughout. And it's not always been a comfortable space. You asked about being in Flint. That meant always carrying the voice of the people who sent you to the table, never forgetting why you are there, and never getting too comfortable, and being able to speak up even when it's not comfortable. So that meant being in a room with Rick Snyder, with Governor Snyder, and having to tell them that they're wrong. It was when I was in Flint, I'm speaking up and speaking from a public health perspective as well, was challenging sometimes because a lot of people think dollars and cents. So as a person with a background in public health, always being there for people, always putting the people over profit. And no matter where I've gone, that's what I've done. At the Saginaw County Health Department, I built out a department around environmental health and healthy homes, making sure that we were working with other agencies and building those relationships there, and carried that to Flint, Michigan, and was able to build out that health department at that time. And that's what I've done. I will say, being at the State Board of Education, that table is listening, making sure I'm listening to parents, listening to educators, listening to our children, and again, building coalition and doing the research that's necessary so that when I do strike out on an issue, that I'm able to stand firm.
Building those coalitions and deep listening, those are the themes that I'm hearing from you, and they're so critical. So thank you for not only doing that, but also modeling that for all of us, not just in the district, but in the whole state. Kind of tagging on to the kind of theme of your work in the State Department of Ed. The role that you've had for the last 10 years is an important one, and it's probably one that not a lot of people really understand. The role of being on the Board of Ed for the state. And so I'm curious about how your experience in that role, that elected statewide position for the last 10 years, right? How that role has uniquely prepared you to take on the Senate role in Lansing.
Oh my goodness. So when I was asked to run, I was at a dinner with a group of women.
Mm.
I was a part of the Democratic Women's Caucus for the state of Michigan, and we were at dinner, and a friend, Cassandra Albrecht, who had helped us on some education issues here in Saginaw, and helped us get through those issues. She asked me to run. I did not know what a state board member did at the time. We were in Detroit, in the Detroit area, having dinner. And I called my dad, who 36 years taught at Delta College, an education advocate. And so I called him, and whatever he said to me on the drive home, it began to make sense. And un, I just understood that I needed to run for that office. Um, and it was interesting because right after that, you had the height of the Flint Water Crisis. I did not know that that was going to be a thing. I was not working in Flint then.
Mm. Mm.
And then we had the pandemic, and then we had the connections of where our children go to school and the environments where they learn, how that impacts their educational
Mhm.
outcomes. And that
Yeah.
was becoming more known as a public health and environmental health expert. That's something that I knew. So I knew that it was out of purpose and it was divine, that I was going to that table. But what I've learned is I've learned to take that next step forward.
Mm.
Running for state senate for me, it's not a stepping stone. It is what I feel that I'm called to do with the skill sets that I have and the needs of the people, and taking that step forward to do that. It's not about, what's next. And so I would say ultimately that's one piece. But working with the legislature, I work day in and day out, either with our state superintendent. That is a responsibility of the State Board of Education to hire and fire the state superintendent. Well,
Mhm.
hire. We don't, thank God we've not had to fire,
Haven't had to.
but hire the state superintendent, and through the department work with the legislature, and then working with the legislature hands on. Just recently, we we did this big event where we're kicking off a joint early literacy efforts with the governor and the governor's office. So policy making is something that I'm accustomed to. Also, making sure that we are focusing and centering children, families, our educators, working people, in the work that we do, that I do day in and day out, being consistent. In, I've been on the board when there's been a Republican trifecta, a
Mm.
Republican governor, Republican led legislature, and I've been on the board when there has been a Democratic trifecta. And in each of those instances, having to stand up, to be consistent, and to carry the voices of our children and our working families. And we've had victories on both in both spaces, of course, more under the Democratic trifecta. Um, but those experiences that I've had on the State Board of Education will be very similar to those as a continuation, an
Mm.
opportunity for me to do more, and for me
Mhm.
to spread out my skill set and my experiences, and continue to work for a broader set of issues that are facing our constituents here in the district.
Yeah, and I would imagine also that you'll be able to leverage lots of really critical relationships that you already
Right,
have built from
Mhm.
being a presence in Lansing for these last 10
right, right.
years. Yeah.
Right. I mean, working again, yes, as being on the State Board of Education, the issues around education, I work with the legislators who are on those committees, have
Mm.
done countless testimonies in front of our legislature. Some have been very contentious, and then some have been in more friendly situations, but definitely have had to take on MAGA, have had to stand toe to toe with policymakers within the legislature who are pushing policies with total disregard for our children, whether it's taking away their lunches, to not
Mm.
passing a budget on
Mm.
time,
Yeah.
and being able to stand toe to toe with them. There are times when I have board members that are Republicans and they carry the MAGA talking points. But there are times when we've worked together to
Mm.
make sure that we've carried forward some very critical policy. And so having those experiences, and again, because of the time that we're in right now, where families are seeing inflation hit them in real time. And people are trying to keep hope while they're also trying to determine how they're going to feed their family. And we've been without representation for almost a year. It will be over a year by the time that we get in
Mm-hmm.
the person gets in office. And so we really need someone who has that experience, and also knows how to stand up and push back, and fight for the issues that matter for working families in the district.
Yeah. I mean, just hearing you talk about your experience, and I'm just thinking about all of the different like ringers that you've been through, right? From the Flint Water Crisis to COVID to the affordability crisis to, I'm sure, all the issues that are kind of that put education front and
Vaccines,
center. Oh my God, vaccines.
Vaccine.
I didn't
Oh
even
my
think
gosh,
about
just
that
last
one.
ongoing.
just
Oh my
last
gosh, and
week.
like Moms for Liberty and all of that going on, and
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we
and the
had.
gender kind of related education and issues that I'm sure you're dealing with. Wow, that it's, I'm sure
I
when
mean,
you
and
decided to
there,
run, you had no idea like that this was going
that
to be
is
your
right.
experience.
That is right.
Yeah.
And that's the part of serving in crisis and serving people in crisis, that you learn to adjust as you go. And again, at the end of the day, it's always standing up for what's right for people, and and just being able to stay that course and having that experience of knowing what that looks like in the end, even when you're going through those
Yeah.
struggles.
Yeah. It's like you said something like that you sort of learn to take the next step when you kind of decided to run for this seat. And it reminds me of one of my favorite quotes from Rumi, which is something like just walk and the way will reveal itself.
Yes,
And I'm hearing like echoes of that in your story of like, you know that you have the skills to wade through
yes,
whatever the crisis is, and you can't
Mm-hmm.
predict what the crisis is or what the situation will be.
yes.
And you just got to take the next step. So I
Absolutely. And
appreciate
I
that.
will say that those experiences, though, have strengthened
Yeah.
me to know and listen and hear and be in tune, um, for that next direction to go. Because the unfortunate part about being a leader is that oftentimes you don't have people next to you that can tell you exactly what position to take.
Yeah.
And it's because of, again, having that background in public health, having the background in education, knowing that all of these things have to work together for the people that you serve, and taking those steps sometimes, just out of being courageous and bold, but knowing that you have to stand up for the people that you serve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As the three of us all know, we live in a somewhat red area. The city of Midland is blue, the city of Bay City is blue, the city of Saginaw is blue, but the surrounding counties in all three of those areas are very red. So all of us have had to organize in these spaces where we have to make room for that. And a big part of our audience And specifically this district, this 35th Senate district, when I know myself and Sarah were advocating for this particular district, it was basically a 50-50. I mean, I think it maybe leans a little more blue now, but when it was designed, we knew that we were going to have a struggle no matter what. And this particular Senate seat will determine the lean of the state Senate, whether the Democrats have a majority or the Republicans have a majority. So it's just really important. Just want everybody to know
No
that.
pressure.
Yeah, no pressure for anybody here. But a big part of our audience is in the organizing space. They're, looking to build progressive power in places where it hasn't always been present or it hasn't been as strong as we would like it to be. What's one piece of advice that you would offer people trying to shift that political power in their own communities?
Again, my message has been around people-centered leadership. And so making sure that we are putting people front and center. Running in 2014, when I remember the top of we were at the celebration and we learned that the top of the ticket for the Democratic Party, that wasn't going to happen. They weren't going to win. And my numbers were not in yet. And someone told me, go to sleep, Pam. Common sense would tell you that you lost. The next morning, I had a text message or email from him apologizing, telling me you have the pundits baffled. Again, in 2022, standing up for children, standing up for educators, making sure that I was fighting for safe spaces for all children and breaking through to the everyday person. Right now, people are concerned about putting food on their table. People are concerned about not having to worry about, if I buy this medicine, am I going to be able to feed my child? Those are the messages that are relatable to people. And people understand when you're genuine, and also that you have a track record, a proven track record of being consistent on those issues. Those are messages that cut through to people. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat, doesn't matter if you're Republican. It cuts through to people. And so that is what I will continue to convey. And as I've been in Midland, talking to people, they're saying the same thing that folks in Saginaw and Bay are saying, that we are concerned and we need people who are focused on us. We don't need people who are focused on power. We don't need people who are focused on supporting and maintaining the status quo. We need people who are concerned about our families being able to maintain on one job and not having to have multiple jobs to make ends meet. And that's the voice that I will continue to carry. Again, the coalition that we've built is a broad coalition. We have the support of Working Families Party, Mothering Justice, My List, which is the Michigan version of Emily's List, and but groups like that who are concerned about the health, the well-being of working families and have a track record of consistently moving that agenda forward. Not corporate agendas, not the agendas of the wealthy, not the agendas of politicians trying to get to the next job, but the agenda of everyday people. And that is how you move forward as a Democrat or a person who wants to maintain this seat as blue.
That's amazing advice and spot on. And I appreciate that from all of us who are doing this organizing work.
Yes.
So thanks for joining our pod. We always like to end on kind of a fun question, sort of a get to know us a little bit deeper question. And so today's fun question is, tell us about a living, non-famous person that you admire. Tell us
Oh my
about a
God.
living, non-famous person that you admire.
I have to think
Well,
about that one too.
Yeah, all three of us get to answer it. And I can go first because I thought of the
good,
question.
good, good, good,
So
good,
Good.
I had the most time to think about the answer. So the person that I admire that I would love to share about, I admire so many people. Her name is Molly Morrissey. And Molly is so many things. She used to live in Midland. She now lives in Milwaukee. She is an ass kicker for sure. She's willing to just do the hard work. She exemplifies just how to be a good citizen in the world, how to be an amazing parent, a wonderful friend, a wonderful grandmother. Um, she takes care of herself and she encourages all of us to do the same. Um, I don't know. She's the person I would ask for advice from first. And she's a listener to the pod. So Molly, I love you and I admire you. Who else would
Oh,
like to share?
I can go next, but
okay, good,
it's
good,
gonna
good.
sound like I'm brown nosing. Someone I admire, Pam, is your dad.
Oh,
Oh, I
I've
love your
only met
dad.
him a couple times, but every time that I've met him and he, will speak to whatever group of people that we're at, he was involved in civil rights, the movement for civil rights in the 60s and has been involved in Saginaw politics for a long time. And just, I could just sit there and listen to him talk about all of that stuff, things that, I'm not from Saginaw, so I didn't experience a lot of that. So I love listening to your dad talk about that stuff. I admire the work that he's done.
well, that makes it easy for me, Jennifer, because I'm just gonna go down that road. I'll try to morph the two together then, because my mom's not here, and and I understand what the question was, but my mother was a parapro in the Saginaw School District. The two of them together are known as like a mom and dad to so many, not just here in Saginaw, but in Bay and Midland. And I don't know, Jennifer, if you know, we surprised my dad on Saturday. And we had people from Saginaw Bay and Midland. My mom and dad used to do this annual fish fry. It was, well, no, it wasn't fish fry, it was a seafood dinner. And they would
Okay.
do it on New Year's Eve every year. So my nieces are here from where they live now, and they wanted to surprise him. And so they surprised him and they did this event
Oh, I
and
love
they
that.
invited some of his former students. My
Oh,
dad
that's
and my
awesome.
mom would take, and now my dad and my sister, they take students all across the country through this Olympics, AXO Olympics. And many of the people in Midland will know about this because they've either judged the AXO competition, or they're the parents of some of our dear friends that we all know, Tiffany, Roland Wallace, and I could go on and
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
But some of the
Yeah.
scientists, and Saginaw was one of the winningest AXO competition. So it's arts, science, and it's an Olympics that's affiliated with the NAACP. So I will say my dad, I will say that we had the opportunity to celebrate him over the weekend where some of these students came together. They brought their children. That was what was so
Oh,
special
I love
about it.
that.
They did a jam session. You'll have to check it out on my Facebook
Oh
page.
my
Oh,
gosh.
cool.
Sounds
And we
amazing.
had seafood, and it was people from Midland that were there and able to join us. And some of the folks from Midland have responded on the Facebook page because some now live all over the country themselves.
Yeah.
So I will say my dad, and it gave me the opportunity to
That's
share a
okay.
little
We can
bit.
both admire the same person.
Thank you for that little nudge, that cheat sheet.
That's so awesome. Awesome. Well, Pam, thank you again so much for joining our pod. And for those of you listening, you can check out this recording and other episodes at our website, which is beyondresistancepod.com. And we'll be back next week where we'll share hard-won insights to build blue power and red communities and start winning. Thank you so much. And until then.
And thanks for all that you all do.
Thank you. Oh, and Pam, can you tell us what's your website? Where can people learn more about you?
People can go to pugh-michigan.com, pugh-michigan.com.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Happy New Year, everyone.
All. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
See everybody later. You can listen to the Beyond Resistance podcast on all major platforms. Leave us a review to boost this episode and help us reach more blue dots and red seas. Follow us on social media and like, share, comment to increase our reach. Subscribe to our Patreon and gain access to our private Discord channel and make monetary donations of support through Venmo. You can find all of this and more at beyondresistancepod.com. Beyond Resistance is a Beyond Resistance LLC production. Producers Jennifer Austin and Sarah Schultz. Editing Jennifer Austin. Theme song We Run the Room by Shadow Kitten.